Do you know it's been almost 2 years since I've posted on this channel? That feels weird. So, what happened? As a quick few sentence summary, this channel was bleeding money. I started working for other people, and one of those ended up being a disaster, but it wasn't all bad. Since then, I've lost 120 pounds. I've been traveling all over North America playing Riftbound, and I created 2 new channels that I've been making content on once again. The first of which is kind of a general media channel similar to Axel Beats, but a little bit more open-ended. It's called Axel Drops Lore. And the second is a Riftbound channel called Out of Mana. I'll leave both of those links down in the descriptions if you want to check either of them out. But let's talk about the story of how Axel Beats died, because that's kind of what this video is about. And I think going that long without addressing that there's no more content is kind of shitty of me, and I'm sorry about that. But first and foremost, the biggest problem with Axel Beats was that I was continuously biting off way more than I could chew. So, for example, the last 2 fairy tale videos I did, the part 1 and 2 breakdowns, were about 4 hours each. And reviewing the manga, making notes, scripting, recording the audio, editing the audio, all of that ended up taking about a month and a half to 2 months for each of those videos. And that is all I was able to do in that time. Meaning I wasn't putting out other content, which means I wasn't making other money. And on expensive projects like that, it kind of feeds into itself of putting me behind, right? And yeah, that was probably a little bit dumb. I was really trying to focus on these like big, larger than life projects that I was very passionate about. Genuinely, I think that the One Piece retrospective was the best video I had made up until that point, right? And then the Demon Slayer one I think was even better. Didn't do as well, but I was super happy with the product that I put out there. I tried to kind of recapture that with the Naruto and the solo leveling videos. Kind of missed the mark on those maybe a little bit. I'm not as happy with those, but the fairy tale ones, I think I knocked out of the park. I am so proud of those videos. I was actively trying to make the best and most expressive content I could that I felt was something that I could be proud to put out there, and not so much or at all thinking about the back end of it, which not great as a business model, let me tell you, especially since a lot of the topics were things that people liked, but maybe were not the most searched things going on at the time, right? Naruto is something that people always enjoy. Do they want to watch a 4-hour video talking about part 1 of Naruto? Maybe not. And if they do, maybe it's like something that they watch over several months rather than all up front when I post it, which makes it look like they're not interested in the video right away. And then by the time that video gets traction, I think it's failed, so maybe I've moved on to a different project. That was pretty bad. And don't get me wrong, all of those projects eventually got decent views, but like I said, a lot of the time that would be 6 to 8 months after posting, and I thought they had completely flopped by then. Which means that I ate the costs of those up front, if they made up for it at all. As a very quick, super simplified version, without even considering my own labor and the opportunity cost of not posting other things, at the time I was paying about $15 per minute for visual editing, and those videos are 4 hours long each, so just the fairy tale project cost $7 grand in just editing. I was way overspending, largely in hopes of recapturing the magic I had with the One Piece video, right? I thought that was a type of video I really enjoyed making and people seemed to really want to see, and that wasn't always the case, so I ended up super in the red. And the fairy tale videos in particular super underperformed initially, essentially leaving me in a spot where I needed to start working for other people and stop taking the risk of working on my own content with these bigger projects. And in particular, I worked for Bonsai Pop doing some visual editing, and I worked for Anime Balls Deep and Movies Balls Deep as a writer for them. These guys genuinely saved me. Working with them was such an absolute pleasure, and what an amazing opportunity it was as well. I got to learn so much just about YouTube, about writing better, about editing better. I just became better at making content from osmosis of being with them, right? They were also super supportive and just the nicest people you get to work with, right? Aside from that, I was also doing hosting for a few different channels as like the voice or face of those channels. Most of them were pretty chill. One of them was particularly not chill. That channel has since been taken down, so luckily we don't have to worry about it too much. But long story short, without going into too many details for obvious reasons, the partnership I had in place behind the channel was not being upheld at all. I ended up doing literally, and I mean literally, all of the work while getting less than a third of the profits for them, and this just continued to get worse over time until I got fed up and walked away, because if I'm going to be doing all the work anyways, I might as well be getting paid for it all, you know? So why not just come back to Axel Beats? It's not a huge channel, but it does have almost 100,000 subscribers built up. That seems like a great launching off point. Well, like I said, the content I want to make here is not super sustainable in the way that I was doing it, which is why I've also partnered with another writer who's also an artist that wants to remain behind the scenes, as well as Dakota Broski, who you've probably seen me do stuff with over the years, who will be doing all of the visual editing for the channel. We're all going to take on equal parts of the work, allowing us to make big projects more regularly, more consistently, and more efficiently. On top of that, YouTube's just not the biggest fan of people taking like a 2-week vacation most of the time, let alone a 1.5 year, 2-year vacation, you know? So instead, I landed on the idea of making a new channel and starting fresh, and then letting you all know what I'm doing so that you can follow me over for more content if you want. And if not, I want to thank you either way. Getting to make the videos on this channel has been some of the most fulfilling and amazing projects I've ever got to be a part of. So even if our journey ends here, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to do this for as long as I did in the way I did on Axel Beats. And if you do want to check out my new stuff, you can head over to Axel Drops Lore, which I will link in the description and the pinned comment. If you like my retrospective videos on this channel, you might like our deep dives into the story of Avatar, God of War, Pokemon, or Devil May Cry. And if you just like general anime, cartoon, and media content, we've done things like the talismans in Jackie Chan Explained, the anomalies in Gravity Falls, or the bending styles in Avatar. Like I said, the links to all that will be down below. If you want to check it out, it is super, super appreciated. We are just getting started, so any support goes a very long way. With all that being said, though, thank you all so much for being here for this journey. I'm sorry that it ended the way that it did, just so anticlimactically with me just kind of vanishing, but I'm hoping that this new channel is a good way for us to start fresh again. Either way, thank you. And for the last time, I hope you all stay excellent.